My name is Ginny Tribe, and I'm a facilitator, and what that means is that I do process work with organizations. I'm a real old woman. I'm almost as old as some of the other people in the audience, but you know, what can we say? When I think about why you're here, I think the city would appreciate the fact that any citizen would be willing to give 2 or 3 hours of its time, of his or her time, to come and give some input in a process that has to do with where the city of Missoula is going in the next 3 years. And so what we tried to do as this new three-year iteration of the strategic planning process for the city is design a process that would, number one, be inclusive as possible, meaning that there would be opportunities for people to be able to say some things, but it not be so community bound that it never gets done. And so we've designed 3 opportunities within a rather short time frame of about 12 to 16 weeks that the city's going to try to get this done. 3 opportunities at the front end, and then some opportunities on the back end that on the front end you'll be able to have sort of early input on what the city ought to be thinking about and developing its plan, and then on the other end an opportunity to be able to really kind of give some final input on the draft before it goes to the council. So thanks for coming tonight. We really appreciate it, and I'm going to walk you through the agenda if that's okay, right? We have some objectives we'd like to try to meet tonight. 3 of them. We're going to try to revisit the city's operating environment, and by that we mean that we would like to have the people in this room be somewhat familiar with the trends and influences and issues that are facing the city, that the city really has to think about economically, demographically, socially, politically, if you will, that are going to help or hinder the city's ability to be successful or take advantage of its opportunities in the next 3 years. And the mayor and some staff are here, and they're going to take a very short period of time to do that, about 20 minutes, and that will leave the bulk of the time for our work. And then we want to, with you, based on some questions that we've designed, we want to explore the challenges from your perspective of the challenges that are facing the city within that operating environment. And then we want to affirm with you the 3 categories that the city has kind of used, if you'll think of them as drawers, the 3 drawers that the city opens and closes in terms of when it does its business, internally and externally. We'd like to see if we can affirm those goal categories with you. We're going to try to be out of here. Someone said to me already tonight that they would be really happy if we were out of here by 8:30, and I'm driving to Butte when this meeting's over, so I'd be happy if we were out here at least by 9, and we're scheduled for 9:30, so we'll sort of see what we do. We want to get the job done, and we'll take as much time as possible or as we can, but we're going to try to be out of here a little bit earlier. I think people's brains sort of turn off somewhere around 9 o'clock, so does that sound okay? And I know there are a few people that have to leave it before 9 o'clock. We have treats up here. There's juice and, pop and water and some fruit and brownies, and stand up and help yourself whenever you want. We'll probably maybe take one short break during the evening, but mostly we're going to use the time to get the job done. And having said all of that, at the end, then I'm going to ask Linda Haig, the communications officer for the city, to just briefly talk a little bit about where the process goes after tonight. So that'd be okay. So sound okay? Are you in? All right. So could we start maybe at the back of the room, and would you just say who you are and if you are representing anybody other than yourself, and if you just, you know, you don't have to say self if you don't want to, but so, do you want to start? Let's just go row by row. You know, we need to do that. Sorry. I know.
Roy Fife from the Office of Planning and Grants, representing the office.
Shane Vanetta with the Board of Building Code Appeals.
I'm Teresa Cox, and I think I'm here because I'm on the Parking Commission. But I have all sorts of other reasons.
I'm Cindy Cleddy with the Office of Planning and Grants, also just a spectator tonight.
Linda Haig, Communications Officer for the city. Rob Porch, Board of Adjustment.
Jeff Ralston Clemmer, Board of Adjustment.
Jim Boggs, I'm a member of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board.
Rosalie Cates with the Redevelopment Authority Board, agency.
Ray Murray, Police Commission.
Kathy Schulte, Vice Chair of the Missoula Housing Authority.
Andy Sponseller, MUTD.
Brigitte Connor, MUTD, which is the Mountain Line Board.
Beverly Young, Board of Trustees, Public Library.
John Pierce, Greeno Park Advisory Committee, and I'm also a member of MJAC.
Kathleen Kennedy, also Greeno Park Advisory Committee and Open Space Advisory Committee.
Cynthia Manning, Historic Preservation Commission.
Suzette Dusso, Missoula County Public Schools Board of Trustees, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave early because we have a board meeting tonight.
Sherry Fraser, Missoula City Cemetery.
Dan Bucks with the Missoula City County Planning Board.
Don MacArthur with the Planning Board.
Mike McCracken with the Local Emergency Planning Committee.
And I'm Gary Sorensen with the Local Emergency Planning Committee.
Virginia Aaronsburg, I'm on the Parking Commission, and I'm an interested citizen.
Jennifer Anthony, Historic Preservation.
David Rechtman, Missoula Public Library.
Well, it's sort of an interesting group and a diverse group, and you're the only one, I think, who didn't say who you are. I'm going to hand you the mic, and then you can, don't you think that'd be a nice slide into your presentation?
Segue. Okay, I'm Mike Cadis, and I work for the city. We've just passed out this one. I'm going to start with a pie chart. Gary didn't get one. Are they back there? Let's start with the city budget, fiscal 2003, and that's our all funds budget. So this is everything. It amounts to about $100 million. It doesn't tell you a lot because there are a lot of projects in here, and those projects, you'll see the full cost of the project, even though the project may take 2 or 3 or 4 years to complete. That's why, the biggest piece of the pie is sewer plant projects. We've got a couple of them going on right now that we have one that's $15 million. We've spent, I don't know, maybe $1 million on it, and we won't finish spending money on it for another 3 years. But it gives you some context for the bigger picture, but the next page is what I think will give you a little better context. This really shows you that there's more that goes on than just the general fund. And the main things that go on besides the general fund are the wastewater treatment plant, building codes division, the MRA, which also has a big chunk of money, and the Missoula Parking Commission. So then let's go to the next sheet. General fund resources. This is our all funds budget is a little more than 100 million. General fund is about 30 million. And this is where the money comes for that 30 million. Over half of it is property taxes. Intergovernmental are, we've got them mixed up. Well, the intergovernmental and state entitlement are money that comes largely from the state or the federal government. So our CDBG funds, things like that. State entitlement is a new category. That was all of our video gaming money and things like that, and alcohol tax, vehicle fees, a whole bunch of things were put into that. Licenses and permits, fines and fees. All of these fees have, as a share of the pie, have actually been shrinking. And so we're doing a study this year to look at that and see how we need to adjust those fees. Usually these are cost for service type of things. On taxes, they increase based on 2 mechanisms. One is that we're allowed to increase our property tax take by 50% of inflation from the previous year. So we can't keep up with inflation. We get to keep up with 50% of inflation. And the other thing is growth. So to the extent that new property value is created, or we grow and annex areas, then we get some additional growth with that. But you have to remember, when we do that, that means we have to provide additional services. So it kind of works on both ends. And because we've been growing pretty rapidly over the last 15 years, we've been better off than a lot of other cities around the state because of that growth, and we're able to get economies of scale. And we don't have to usually build a new fire station, or we may add a few patrol officers, but we don't have to build a new police station. But at some point or another, that catches up with you. We will have to build a new fire station. And like right now, we've done a study, and we see potentially 3 that we could build. And you know, it's actually relatively cheap to build a fire station. It costs you $1 million, $1.5 million to put it up, but it costs you $1 million a year to staff it, because you got to have 3 people there 24/7. Next page, general fund expenses. So this is by department, and you can see, you know, police is 25% of the general fund, fire is 20% of the general fund, and public works at 17, and then parks at 9. Those are the 4 big things we do when it comes to money. And if you look at, like, administrative services is 8, and non-departmental over on the other side is 10. Well, those are both things that support those other 4 things by and large. So the slice for police is, you know, realistically bigger than 25%, because you have to have attorney services. Like in the attorney's office, we have 5 attorneys. Well, 3 of them are prosecutors. 1.5 to 2 are civil attorneys. So you get a sense. I mean, if we weren't doing police work, then we wouldn't need the prosecutors. And the same thing with the courts. There's a chunk in there that down on the bottom, 2% for courts. The other big thing that we do is, well, 2 other big things we do. Planning and grants. We spend a lot of time on planning. It's not a big money item, but there's a phenomenal amount of controversy that focuses around planning in a growing community. And this is zoning and subdivision review and all those things. And then the other part is health over there. And health is governed by a separate board. And a long time ago, there was an effort to separate health from the whims of political decision making. And so most health departments have a separate board, kind of like libraries, so that kind of one rabid group or another couldn't come in and say, no more books, or of this type or another. So there's an isolation that's been created. And you find that lots of places, and you find that here as well. And then the last page is the budget by functions. And just the key thing to see here is the 71% for wages and benefits. I mean, we're basically an institution that is driven by people. And we spend most of our money for people. Yeah?
What are the things you did
That's like by and large. There are a few community organizations that are funded out of there. So money to the Art Museum, the Cultural Council, no, MRA is not in there at all. MRA isn't in the general fund at all. Okay?
So basically, administrative services and non-departmental would almost be added.
And split back up among all the other big ones. Yeah, that wouldn't be an unfair way of looking at things, just, you know, to get a kind of rough view of things. Okay, then the last thing I was going to show you is just is this sheet, this table.